I want to bring in MS Now senior national security reporter David Rode, retired four-star general and MS Now military analyst Barry McCaffrey, also retired U.S. Army captain and attorney and former federal prosecutor Margaret Donovan. David, I want to start with some new New York Times reporting that I personally found a bit alarming. They have a stunning piece out that describes in almost sort of documentary-style detail an account of the remnants of a boat washing ashore in Colombia, mangled bodies being found, and packets found that seem to have traces of marijuana, not fentanyl, not cocaine, but marijuana, a drug that is legal in more than half of the United States. David, what did you make of this report?
It's amazing reporting where a reporter from the Times made it to this very remote area. It's very close to the border between Colombia and Venezuela. But I spoke to a former law enforcement official, and trafficking of marijuana is growing. It's profitable. Cocaine prices are down in Europe and in parts of the U.S. So these boats that have been the subject of these lethal strikes by the U.S. could be carrying marijuana. They could be carrying a combination of marijuana and cocaine. And it just reinforces what you were talking about in the introduction. We just know so little about the boat strikes, this alleged CIA strike. We just don't know what the United States is doing and going to do in and around Venezuela.
Now, Margaret, I understand that people will have concerns about the transportation, the dealing of marijuana, but the way that the administration has sold this entire campaign is that it's focused on very serious drugs like fentanyl, life-threatening drugs, not drugs that people in more than half of the country can go to a dispensary, a store next door and purchase. So if we have, in fact, killed people transporting marijuana, could we be in legal trouble?
Yeah, absolutely. I think from the beginning, I have said there is no legal basis for targeting these boats, either domestically or internationally. We can slap the terrorism label on anything we want, but it doesn't make it true. And so in this case, the administration has tried to stretch the legal framework that we've typically applied to the war on terrorism to drug trafficking. And in this instance, I think the administration thinks its strongest argument is about fentanyl. And so what we've seen from the administration is basically pretextual reasonings given for why it's targeting these boats, invoking the deadliness and the fatalities associated with fentanyl. But of course, as we have seen, the facts that have played out are completely untethered and disconnected from what the administration is saying. And this latest reporting from the New York Times is a perfect example of that. We have a drug, marijuana, as you say, that is legal in many U.S. states, and that the federal government has just moved to downgrade on the DEA schedule of drugs. And we are saying that this is now targetable with lethal force. None of that adds up, and it is contrary to what the public has been told is the justification for these strikes.
General, I want to get your thoughts on the role the CIA is reportedly playing in all of this first land strike on a sovereign country, but also bigger picture, what you think the CIA is likely trying to do there on the ground to Maduro and the broader power structures, the military in that country.
Well, it seems to me from the start that the objective of the whole Trump administration approach to Venezuela was to get Maduro out, not necessarily to have, he, by the way, stole the election in 2024. So not necessarily to get Ms. Machado in, but Maduro out, and to get Chevron back into Venezuela, the wealthiest oil resources on the face of the earth. They're doing it by a combination of an attempted oil embargo, which is in a morass of illegalities itself. Also, the drug profits clearly have sustained the generals during this time. Also, mineral smuggling, gold smuggling, that sort of thing. So the whole point of the exercise really is to take Maduro out. By the way, it's a laudable goal. He's been indicted. 14 of his fellow associates have been indicted. He's a dictator. 7 million Venezuelans are refugees all over Latin America, Central America, and the United States and Spain. The economy is in a disaster. So the question is, will this work? And I fear that Mr. Trump, who's put 15,000 sailors and Marines in the Caribbean, has the wrong tools to get Maduro out. He's not going to crack. The only way it might happen, I suppose, is the CIA can engineer a coup by his security forces. That is possible, but Maduro himself was trained in Cuba, and he's sustained by a sizable Cuban intelligence apparatus on the ground. So it's a mess, and I think the Trump administration basically is going in the wrong direction.
Margaret, even if the United States, the CIA, was successful in being able to push Maduro out or getting people in his circle to turn on him, would that guarantee that whoever stepped into the power vacuum would be able to lead Venezuela into a more positive future? I mean, do we as a country even have solid intelligence on the ground in a country like Venezuela, where we've had these strained tensions for a really long time? We know that there are these different factions and armed groups. It's a large country with tens of millions of people. Is this going to be an easy job?
Of course it's not. And the administration seems to have been doing everything it can do to isolate itself in these operations. Look, nobody is saying Maduro is the hero of the moment. He's not a good person. He is a dictator by all definitions of that word. But in order to have a successful operation to either encourage change in the country or otherwise contain any of the perceived threats that he could be posing to the United States, we need to have partners in that region. When the CIA conducts, for example, drug trafficking operations in places like Panama or Mexico or Colombia, typically they have some type of cooperation or alignment with forces in that country. We don't have that here. Not only have we isolated ourselves from Venezuela and its neighbors, but our foreign partners in the Caribbean have also stopped sharing intelligence with us. And so we have this confluence of factors that basically leave us alone and out on a limb in this apparent war that we're beginning to start.